The sound of rolling suitcases echoed down the jet bridge. That hollow, metallic clatter that always feels like anticipation and impatience mixed together. I was heading to New York for a business meeting. First-class ticket, aisle seat, coffee still warm in my hand. It should have been a calm morning. But the peace didn't last long. She appeared right behind me. Blonde hair in a too-tight bun, designer sunglasses still on indoors, and that unmistakable I own the place energy. The type of person who treats the airport like their private estate. As we stepped onto the plane, she glanced at my boarding pass, then at me. Her lips curved into a polite, poisonous smile. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dripping with forced sweetness. "I think you might be in the wrong section. This is first class." I blinked, almost laughing at how casually she said it. "I know," I replied, holding up my ticket. "Seat 2A. She gave a short, disbelieving laugh. "Oh, I see. It's just... well, people like you usually sit in coach." I froze for a second. People like me. I could feel the air thicken between us. The flight attendant just a few steps away, watching nervously. I tilted my head. "People like me?" I asked, keeping my tone calm but firm. Her fake smile didn't falter. "Oh, don't take it the wrong way. It's just... I fly all the time and I don't usually see... well, never mind." The flight attendant cleared her throat, clearly uncomfortable. "Ma'am, can I see your ticket, please?" Karen. Yes, by now I knew she was a Karen. Held it out like she was handing over a royal decree. 1C. I'm supposed to sit there. The attendant nodded. "Yes, ma'am. That's across the aisle. You're right next to this passenger." The look on her face was priceless. The realization that she'd have to sit beside the person she'd just insulted. Her jaw tightened. "Fine," she muttered, dragging her oversized handbag like it was filled with resentment. I took my seat, trying not to smirk. But as she shoved her bag into the overhead bin, she muttered just loud enough for me to hear, "This is going to be fun." I didn't reply. I just sipped my coffee, looked out the window, and thought to myself, you have no idea what you've just started. Because what she didn't know yet was who I really was. The plane doors sealed with that low hiss, the kind that feels final, like there's no turning back. I could already sense the tension brewing beside me. Karen had her arms crossed, her lips pursed so tightly they looked like a paper cut. The engines roared to life. As the plane began taxiing, she leaned closer. "You know," she said, in that condescending whisper people use when they think they're giving you advice, "you might be more comfortable in the back. Sometimes they upgrade people by mistake." I turned slowly, meeting her eyes. "And sometimes," I said evenly, "people say things without realizing how ridiculous they sound." She blinked, thrown off for a split second. Then scoffed, flipping through the in-flight magazine as if she were too important to care. When the seatbelt sign turned off, she wasted no time calling over the flight attendant. "Excuse me," she chirped, waving like she was hailing a taxi. "I think there's been some kind of mix-up." The attendant, the same one from boarding, looked weary already. "What kind of mix-up, ma'am?" Karen gestured toward me. "This passenger is sitting in first class, but, well, I think he's in the wrong seat. I've been flying this route for years, and..." The attendant cut her off gently. "Ma'am, his ticket is valid. He belongs here." The smile slid off her face like melting wax. She laughed, not a happy laugh, but that sharp fake one people use to save face. "Oh, I see. I just thought... well, never mind then." She didn't stop there. Dinner service had just begun when the first patch of turbulence hit. The plane jolted slightly. Nothing serious, but enough to make Karen gasp like we were nosediving. Her glass of wine sloshed, leaving a red streak across her white blouse. "Ugh, wonderful!" she snapped, dabbing at the stain with a napkin. Then glaring at me, she added, "Could you not bump the tray next time?" I set my fork down calmly. "That was turbulence," I said. "Not me." She rolled her eyes. "Of course it was." The flight attendant appeared again, polite as ever. "Are you okay, ma'am?" "No, I'm not okay," she barked. "I paid good money for this seat, and now I'm sitting next to..." She stopped herself mid-sentence, lowering her voice. "Someone who doesn't even belong here." The attendant's patience visibly thinned. "Ma'am, if you continue harassing other passengers, I'll have to report this to the captain." Karen gasped, clutching her pearls like she'd just been accused of a crime. "Me? Harassing? I'm the one being disrespected." I exhaled slowly. My instinct was to stay quiet, to let her dig her own grave. But something in me snapped. Maybe it was the way she kept saying people like you. Maybe it was the way she looked at me. Not as a person, but as an inconvenience. I turned toward her, voice calm but cutting. You keep saying I don't belong here. You know what's funny? I actually helped design this aircraft model. Her jaw dropped. You what? I'm the lead engineer for the company that built this plane. I fly this route often to check design updates, so, technically, I gave her a small, knowing smile. You're sitting in my seat. For once, she was speechless. The color drained from her face. The flight attendant blinked in surprise, then smiled slightly, like she'd been waiting for that moment all along. Karen mumbled something about misunderstanding and turned back to her tray, quiet for the first time since we boarded. The rest of the meal was silent, except for the hum of the engines and the occasional clink of silverware. But as the lights dimmed for the night portion of the flight, she leaned closer again, whispering, "This isn't over." I didn't respond. I just looked out the window at the endless stretch of stars and thought, some people never learn. Morning light spilled through the cabin windows as the pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing in New York shortly. Please fasten your seatbelts. The announcement stirred everyone awake, except Karen, who'd been wide-eyed for the past hour, typing furiously on her phone. I could feel the nervous energy radiating from her seat. When the wheels touched down, she let out an audible huff. Finally, she muttered. I'm reporting this entire flight. The service, the seating, everything. I raised an eyebrow. Still going with that, huh? She shot me a glare. You think being some kind of airplane mechanic makes you better than everyone? I couldn't help but chuckle. I'm not a mechanic. I oversee aviation design and safety for Horizon Aerospace. I paused. In fact, the airline's CEO was expecting me this morning. Her face froze mid-expression. Her lips parted slightly, but no sound came out. Then, as passengers began standing up to retrieve luggage, the head flight attendant approached. Sir, the captain would like a quick word with you before deplaning. In the cockpit. Karen's head whipped around. Wait, you're going to the cockpit? She stammered. Yeah, I said, standing up and collecting my bag. They usually like to chat after a smooth flight. You know, about the systems. She blinked rapidly. Oh, I see. I could see it now. The gears turning. The sudden awareness that the person she'd been belittling for hours wasn't just a random passenger. She straightened her blazer, suddenly polite. I didn't mean to sound, rude. Well, first class can be particular. I smiled, calm and measured. No worries. People make assumptions. It's just better when they don't voice them. As I walked toward the front of the plane, I heard her mumble to herself. I had no idea. The captain greeted me warmly. Good to see you again. Everything ran perfectly this time. I glanced back through the open door. Karen was frozen in her seat, watching. The same flight attendant from earlier noticed, leaned down, and whispered something to her. Probably confirming what she already suspected. Her face turned the color of cold coffee. When I finally stepped out of the plane, the air felt different. Crisp, free, lighter somehow. I could still hear her faint voice behind me as she spoke to the attendant, trying to sound gracious. But that moment right there, that was her landing lesson. Because somewhere between takeoff and touchdown, she'd realized, sometimes the person you look down on might just be the one who built the world beneath your feet. Don't forget to subscribe to Only Karens for more dramatic real-life HOA and Karen stories. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, which moment impressed you the most? We love reading your thoughts.